Monday, March 27th, approximately 3 p.m. and I'm going to do a bit of work in the pond here. You can see that I'm at the indoor pond and I have the water level dropped down somewhat. I've done a water change, dropped it down a little bit more than usual because I'm going to be getting in a moment in my chest waders. The purpose being to remove the netting that I have across the pond here, which separates the sturgeon component from where the koi are housed. And the reason I'm doing that is that rather than wait until probably mid to late May when it's going to be time to move the koi outside again, I'm going to move it now, and the primary reason for that is that the sturgeon have grown, which is wonderful. It's just that the short-nosed sturgeon, to me, feels a little confined in the space that it's in. Now, the pond itself is, as I mentioned in a previous video, is 10 feet long, 8 feet wide, and approximately 4 feet deep. Yeah, you can see the water line on the liner there, so the water itself is not actually 4 feet deep when it's up to sort of the normal operating level. But the sturgeon, which you will see kind of cruising around here in a moment, is really confined, I think, in the space that he's in. The netting itself is 4 feet from the one edge of the pond, so basically 6 feet from the other end, so not quite the midway point. And it does have room for him to swim around in there, but I think it does much better if he's going to have a lot more room to exercise. Now, what that's going to present, obviously, is some issues with regard to the feeding, and I've been looking at some auto pond feeders. So I'm considering seriously getting one of those to put it down here for the koi. They get primarily floating pellets, although they do get mealworms and soldier fly larvae and silkworm pupa as treats on a regular basis. But I'm hoping that if I have a feeder set up here that's going to feed, small quantities multiple times a day, that will sort of help them curb their appetite, shall we say, a little bit, so they won't be as likely to go for the sturgeon food. The sturgeons get sinking pellets, and I know the koi love them, and it's not going to be an issue if they eat some of those pellets by any means. I just don't want them eating too many and causing issues for the sturgeon. If I find that the sturgeon are experiencing difficulty with regard to getting food, then what I will do is put the divider back in, and they will have to kind of manage as they're doing now. But I just want to give them more space to swim around. So with that said, if you can bear with me for a moment here, as I said, I have my waders on. I'm going to climb into the pond, and the netting itself is in two different sections on two panels that I made, and it is zip tied together to hold it in place. So I'm going to get in there, cut those zip ties, move the netting panels out of the way, and then of course you'll see as I do that. And I will try, once that's all done, I will take the camera off the tripod here and see if I can get a closer view of the sturgeon once that netting is out of the way. So I'm going to hop in there now and get that done. So if you can just bear with me for a moment. Just with respect to kind of the lack of noise, I have turned the air and the water pumps off just to make it quieter, because it does echo quite a bit down here when the pump is running, making it a little bit difficulty to hear on the video. So bear with me for a moment. I will climb into the pond and we will continue from that point. And I do apologize for the interruption here. One thing I forgot to put in the pond, which I will need, is my ladder to get back out. So I'm going to pause the camera here for a moment. I'll put that ladder in, just show you where that is, and then we'll resume the video at that point. Alright, the ladder is now in the pond, and it's the one that I used to both get in and out with. It was a carryover from an above-ground swimming pool I used to have when my sons were quite young. We've moved a couple of times since that time. That pool is long since gone, but I did keep the ladder, knowing that with having the koi ponds, it would be handy to get in and out. When I personally was younger, getting in and out of this one, was definitely a little bit easier. I could kind of prop myself up on a corner or something, so to pull myself out. Unfortunately, I can't do that any longer. I just don't have the energy or the strength to do it. I recently turned 73, so it is a little more awkward climbing up and down things like this without some assistance of the ladder. So I'm going to get in there now, and as I said, I will take the netting panels out, and once that's done, I will climb back out, turn the camera off, take it off the tripod, and take it over to the pond and see if I can get some decent photos of the sturgeon. So I will get into the pond now that I have the ladder in place, and hopefully be able to get everything done that I'm hoping to do. As you can see, I am in the pond, and I'm now going to just cut the zip ties here that hold these together. So there are quite a few of them on here just to hold everything in place. The water temperature, I checked it just before I set the camera up to come into the pond, was approximately 64 Fahrenheit or about 16 Celsius, hence the waders. It's definitely a little chilly to be getting in here without those on. And I have been in just in the bathing suit before, in the summer when it does get a bit warmer down here in the basement, but right now it's still pretty chilly, and I really didn't want to do that. So I'm going to, that's one of the supports there, and the noise the zip ties are holding that part together, so as they go, I can pick those up afterwards. And then I will take the ties that are holding a second bar, like that one in here, take those out. And then I can undo the panels themselves and take those out as well. Now, in addition to allowing the sturgeon more room to get around, of course this will also allow the koi additional room to swim around, and I know they do enjoy that as well. So I'm just going to put this over here out of the way. I will move across here and do the panels. The ties are actually holding the panels together. Okay, so that's done on that one there. And it is zip tied to an upright on either side, just to kind of hold the panel in place so that the fish don't push it, so that at normal times like we're in here, and same so that the sturgeon don't kind of push things out of the way. So bear with me for a moment. There's one, and the other one is just down here under the water. That's the first panel done. Now what I'm going to do is I would just move the panel out of the way, and what I'm going to do first is I would just kind of tip it up here, and you can see in a moment what I have done is that what was the bottom of the panel, I've now turned it over here. As I had a bar here, another pole, and again the primary function of this one was to keep the net in place, so when the sturgeon pushed against it, or the koi pushed against it, it would not move. So I'll put this off of here, and then I will do the same on the other side. So fortunately with the waders on it, the water is, I can feel it, but it is certainly not cold on my legs or anything now because of have the waders on. I wouldn't want to be in here without those. So just bear with me for a second here and get that poured out. Now I will move this over and get this first one out. Again, it's just a matter of kind of fiddling a little bit because I got to move it around the length, etc. within here. And allow some of the water to drain out of the water. That's kind of the next step. So it's a little fiddly, but it works well. As I said, I'm hoping that I can avoid having to use this in the future if the fish all cooperate. So that's the first panel is out. I'll slide it over now, and then I will remove the second one by just taking a clip off of the side support rails here, and it too has a support to prevent the panel from moving when it was in against the wall there, so the sturgeon and the koi could not dislodge it, causing issues for either side. So that's that one over now. I think now it's just a matter of moving the panel. I'm going to do that now, because that's the plan. And both the sturgeon and the koi, I think, are enjoying themselves at the moment. They all have now more space to swim around in, so everybody's going to feel much better. And you may see on the video there the sturgeon popping up from time to time as he's cruising around. He seems to be enjoying himself already. So I will take this blade off of here as well. Scissors are on there. And once this is done, and I finish, as I said, trying to get a video or some pictures of the sturgeon, I will definitely let you see that. And then I'll get the pumps and everything running again. And at that point, we'll start refilling the pond here so that they can kind of get back to their normal level and have everything operating the way it's supposed to. Just draining the water out of the pipes here. What I did when I assembled this was to put a couple small holes at the top of each panel to allow air to escape as it went into the water, and at the bottom where those braces or support holes went was an opening that allowed water to get into the panels so that the units or the panels themselves would, of course, sink and not be buoyant with full of air. What I am going to do is I'm going to leave the support rods you can see on the far side there. I have another one on this side, the near side as well. I'll leave those in place, so if I do need to put the panels back in at any time, then that would be an easy chore to do that. And the black line that you see here goes to my air pump and down to the Arab stone, which is the bottom of the pond here. So what it was previously secured, to the panel, I will secure it to the pump line here, so that will kind of keep it more or less in place, because I know the fish, when they swim around, they do tend to move it a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to climb out of the pond for a moment. I will take the camera off of the tripod, bring it closer, and hopefully be able to get some pictures as the koi and the sturgeon can swim past me. So bear with me for a moment while I climb out, and I will be back with some video and some pictures, hopefully, in just a few moments once I get this taken care of. So just bear with me for a moment, and I will get back to you. Hopefully I can do this without slipping or tumbling my head on the ceiling, because it is not I managed to get the short-nosed sturgeon into my measuring bowl here, just to give you a bit of an idea. Definitely not happy, as you can see. I'm going to try and get a quick measurement of him if I can. The ruler on the tank here itself is 34 inches. And if I can get him just to kind of turn around a little bit, or at least come down tail to this end, I should be able to get a bit better idea, because he's definitely not happy being in the tank here. So I'm going to see what I can do, see if I can get him down the end here. So he is almost nose to tail, the length of the container. So that puts him at approximately 36 inches, give or take a little bit there. I don't know if I can get him to turn around or not. As I said, he's definitely not happy, and I do apologize for kind of getting my hand in the way there, but let me just see what I can see here. Yeah, based on what I just got there, I would say he is now 36 inches long, and as I said, very unhappy about being in the tank, so I'm going to get him out. That'll make him a lot happier now. I'm going to put the camera down again for a moment and see if I can get the sterlet sturgeon to do the same thing. And if I can, I will certainly give you a quick video of that. I know he's definitely a smaller size than the one there, than my short-nosed sturgeon. So as you can bear with me for a moment, I'll see if I can get him in. The koi are swimming around enjoying the additional space, and I do kind of apologize for the lack of clarity of the water, but they have really stirred things up, as have I, walking around in here now. You can kind of see the sturgeon there just kind of bobbing along the side. He'll be fine once things are going again. So I'm going to see if I can get the sterlet into the measuring bowl as well, just to get a quick idea as to what size he is. And I will let you know, obviously, in the video if that happens. So I'll put things down for a moment and be back with you hopefully very shortly. Alright, I did manage to catch the sterlet. This is him here, and I call them both him. I'm not sure whether they're male or female, but you know, being a guy, they're him as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just going to try and get him to the side here again, get a quick measurement if at all possible. As I say, they definitely don't like being confined. So if I can get him to turn around again here, just do a very quick measurement. He's not really cooperating, but from what I can see, and I know you can't see that on the camera, and I do apologize for that, he is approximately 31, 32 inches as well. So definitely smaller than the short-nosed sturgeon. He's actually a little bit older, but I know the sterlets don't get as large. So that just gives you a bit of an idea as to what he looks like. I'm going to try if I can find a quick clip of the size both of the sturgeon were when I first got them. I'll put that in the video. Hopefully I can find that. If not, we'll just kind of go with this. But I just want to give you an idea how things are looking here in the indoor pond. As I said, everybody seems to be enjoying the chance to swim around in a bigger volume of water. I'm going to let Windsor, I call this one Windsor because he purchased him in Windsor, Ontario. So I'm going to let him out of the measuring tank now. And there we go, that's taking care of him. So you can see the koi, just checking things out. They definitely are going to enjoy having additional space to swim around in here as well. And so once I'm kind of finished in here, I'll get the measuring tank out, get myself out, and then we'll get the water flowing back again through the filters, start topping things up. And as you can see, I have tie wrapped the airline here just to the pump pipe there, just to kind of hold the air stone in pretty much the middle of the pond. So on that note, I will put the camera down. I'm going to get myself out of the pond, and we'll get things kind of back to what is technically normal for these guys. As it's going to be a bit of an experiment with regard to the feeding, and I'm going to do my best to, as I said, you know, kind of multiple small feedings for the koi, so that hopefully when the sturgeon food goes in, they won't go nuts for it, and the sturgeons will get to eat. And if I do run into trouble, as I mentioned, then I can always put the poles back in, or the netting back in, I should say, to separate them again, but I'm hoping I won't have to do that. So if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. And please feel free to leave a comment below. Your comments, of course, are always appreciated. Thank you all and take care. It is now approximately 5:30 on Monday evening, and the fish all seem to be doing well. The pond has been refilled. The sturgeon and the koi seem to be enjoying the additional space they have. If you look at the far side of the pond there, about the middle of the picture, you can kind of see the short-nosed sturgeon bobbing up his nose. I think he's looking for food. So I'm going to feed the koi with some mealworms, give them a good feed of that, and while they're eating mealworms down at the end of the pond where I'm standing near the filters, then I'll throw some sinking pellets down to the other end for the sturgeon, and hopefully they will find them before the koi do. So it's going to be, as I said, a bit of an experiment to see how things go, but everybody does seem happy down here, enjoying the additional space they have now to move around comfortably, and the additional water current that's kind of going around now because the divider is gone. So with that done, I am very pleased. As I said, I'll be keeping an eye on the sturgeon just to see how they do with the change as far as their feeding goes, and I'll post some more information on another video update later on. But as I said, right now everybody is looking good. You can kind of see the sturgeon in the corner there, I think. There he is. I'm just kind of cruising around a little bit. So hopefully everybody's going to benefit from this, and I feel better knowing that they all have more space to swim around. So thank you very much again for watching. Really appreciate your support, and stay safe and take care.